Hello, this is Echelon Rethink, a short series covering how COVID-19 is changing business in Sri Lanka. Now, small businesses, which typically don't have e-commerce setups or access to electronic payments, are particularly affected due to COVID-related physical distancing. Payable, the company founded in 2016, has been working in this payment space to enable these SMEs. Online with us is Yohan Wijesiriwardane, who is the co-founder and chief executive of Payable, a company which connects small businesses with the bank-controlled payments infrastructure so these SMEs can accept debit and credit card payments. Yohan, do you think, broadly speaking, that's a fair way of describing what your business does?
Thanks a lot for having me, first of all. And yeah, basically in Sri Lanka, in our market, there are licensed payment acquirers, right? People who can accept payments on behalf of merchants. So those are mainly the banks. So when we started off Payable, our main goal was to see how we can support that process. And then we started working with the banks. We provided a solution for the banks, and with the bank we take that to our merchants. And that's kind of been the relationship. So we are now partnered with about 5 banks, and with those 5 banks we have taken main product, the MPOS product, to the Sri Lankan market. And then we have about, I think, nearly 25,000 merchants on that platform.
25,000 merchants in the Sri Lankan context. What does that mean?
When we started in commercially rolling this out in 2016, there was about altogether about 30,000 merchants and about 45,000 terminals. So, big, large merchants like, the supermarkets and all of that have multiple terminals, right? So the entire Sri Lankan market was about 42,000 merchant payment points. So then after we started, we have managed to increase that with our partner banks up to about, now there's, I think, about 65,000 merchant points. So you're seeing a drastic increase in electronic payment accessibility.
Johan, so Payable basically supplies a small card scanner connected to the system through a smartphone, right? Just to make it clear to everyone, this is called a mobile point of sale device, or MPOS. Okay. So does it also mean that Payable now has around 35% market share on credit card and debit card payments in Sri Lanka? Because over 35% of credit and debit card payment acquiring POS devices have been supplied by you?
If you take it in a point where on a merchant number, yes. But if you take it in revenue side of things, the larger merchants push larger volumes, right? So a general rule of thumb is, we always feel 1:10 kind of, one MPOS merchant, 10 MPOS merchants kind of come to about one POS merchant.
For all the challenges COVID-19 has caused, from the health scares to the economic impact, one of the silver linings, if we can call it that, is being a catalyst for digitization at a pace many times faster than what would have been possible to imagine before this crisis. Is this also likely to be the catalyst in the digital payments space, you think?
If you look at it as a market awakening, yeah, definitely. Because now what you see is, merchants and consumers are both pushed to use payments on a digital platform, right? Cash is still king, and it's the most, 95% of our economy is still purely predominantly cash. But what's happening is access to cash, due to you can't get to the ATM, or you have a limited amount of money in your account, that makes it difficult to get access to cash. So what then that happened is that drove up the digital economy. So basically people who have never bought something online due to these situations went on Keels.com and tried to buy something online. So we have had numerous requests from different merchants to come and give them some readers so they can give card on delivery.
COVID has led to a shutdown of traditional retail. So the retail model now needs to add home delivery to be successful. And there is a pain point of accepting a credit or debit card payment from a customer, right? This is a problem Payable can solve.
The four largest supermarket chains in Sri Lanka, none of them were geared to handle this kind of supply chain requirement, right? So they but if you look at the context of it, they're purely a retail model, right? They have spent so much money on their retail model, and all of a sudden the business got turned upside down. One day they were retail, the next day they were all about e-com delivery, right? So none of them could meet that demand. So because it just, the model was totally different. The entire market went from go to the supermarket to wait at home to get delivery. So then at delivery points, the payments, how do you pay, right? So people have cash. In a supermarket, you're used to cash, you're used to credit card payments, you're used to app payments, you're used to points, all of these things, right? So, and the only viable option for at the door was cash, because they were not empowered to accept card on delivery. So that's where we kind of come in, and we kind of, we have the ability to give a card reader for all of these delivery engines or delivery companies or their in-house delivery to come to your door and accept payment.
Southeast Asia is a global leader in digital payments, and India is also getting there now, I think. Somehow, Sri Lanka appears to have been a laggard. In a regulatory point of view, what must we do for digital payments to become more the norm than it has been? What must be done in, say, a policy and regulatory point of view to accelerate this, do you think?
If you take the merchant onboarding costs, or what the banks call a KYC, right? Know your customer kind of thing. It's done on a very, face-to-face method, where we actually go to the merchant, look at the surroundings, onboard them personally, because that's how you get a verification on all these documents. So for adoption, that's a big barrier, because each of these costs, each onboard takes about 3 visits, right? First one to go get all the documents, then maybe some documents are missing, you get a couple of more documents. Basically what COVID did was, all of a sudden central bank also thought, oh, you can't go meet people for these onboards, and they they put a mandate out saying you are okay with digital onboards, even opening up a bank account. I think they loosened that up, right? So that's a great initiative, because if you open that up, where you can accept all of these documents digitally and then onboard a person digitally, and maybe at the deployment point, you go and visit and you teach them, then that time to do the verification, that's a great way to do it, because that way it will bring down the banks and our cost of onboarding, and that will create massive adoption, where people can just sign up on the phone, press a few buttons, and they are ready to go. These all central bank guidelines. So I feel that central bank should really look at the payments acquiring guidelines and open them up. Even you cannot open them up to open a bank account, but at least to accept digitally payments, because Sri Lanka is a well-banked country, so everybody has a bank account in one of these banks, right? So if you can find a digital platform to onboard all of these merchants without us having to visit them, we can, not 20,000, 25,000 is not we can most probably do about 200,000, which is effectively about 20% of the SME base. So that's what I feel the government and central bank and all of these payment regulations should do, is look at methods on trying to bring that time cost and the monetary cost down, so we can give electronic payments to the masses, basically.
So digital payments are an area where potential is plentiful, whether those disruptive new companies work alongside established bank infrastructure or not. COVID-19 is perhaps a catalyst for the legal and regulatory reforms that will make digital payments the norm. It appears Sri Lanka has a tremendous incentive to achieve this. Thank you, Yohan, for joining Echelon Rethink. Echelon Rethink, powered by ACCA Sri Lanka. Is your organization an ACCA-approved employer? Apply now and make it easy to recruit the best finance professionals in the country.